At least now, it's pretty difficult to disappear without a trace. But throughout history, there are numerous instances of people, and groups, who appear to have disappeared without a trace. While the solutions are probably much more straightforward, we simply don't have them, yet. Many of these tales have given rise to paranormal and science fiction theories, ranging from ghosts to sea monsters. The Disappeared by Ian Crofton, published in 2006, contains 35 of these stories and served as a major source of information, and in this video, we will cover 8 of them here. Greetings, curious minds! And welcome again to Hallmark History. Have you ever heard of disappearances so bizarre, they've left experts scratching their heads for decades? Well, get ready to be captivated as we delve into 8 of the most perplexing cases in history. From unexplained vanishing acts, and strange circumstances to bizarre clues, this video will make you question everything you thought you knew about the world around you. So buckle up and join us on this spine-tingling journey, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating content. 1. The Roanoke Colony. More than 100 colonists mysteriously disappeared from Roanoke Island, a portion of what is now North Carolina, in the late 16th century. This mystery may be the country's oldest. The colonists were part of the second, though some claim it was the third, attempt to colonize the region when they arrived in 1587 under the leadership of the Englishman John White, a friend of Sir Walter Raleigh. As relations with the Native Americans deteriorated, the colony's early days appear to have been tinged with both happiness. White's daughter gave birth to the first English child born in the New World about a month after arriving, and sorrow. Soon after the colony began, when conditions began to look dire, White was persuaded to return to England in order to gather supplies and reinforcements. Unfortunately, White's return didn't happen for 3 years after he left because of bad weather and a war with Spain. He didn't discover any members of his family or any other colonists when he got back to Roanoke Island. The only indications of their location appeared to be the word Croatoan carved into a fence post and the letters CRO carved into a tree. White had left instructions stating that if the settlers moved, they were to carve a sign for the new location and add a cross if they were in distress. White discovered a jumble of damaged and ruined possessions but no cross. However, bad weather and other misfortunes prevented him from traveling to the island where the tribe lived, now known as Hatteras Island, to investigate. He assumed the settlers had moved in with the hospitable Croatoan tribe. The colonists were never contacted by White, and nothing more was ever known about them. Some people today still hold the theory that the colonists blended in with the local tribes, but this theory is unproven. European artifacts from the late 16th century have been discovered during archaeological excavations on Hatteras Island, but this does not prove that the colonists moved there because the objects could have been obtained through trade or plunder. But probably fewer than a dozen. What happened to the rest? According to legend, Chief Powhatan informed Captain John Smith, the colony's commander, that the colonists had been massacred because they were cohabitating with a hostile tribe. However, historians have raised some questions about this story. It's also conceivable that some or all of the colonists managed to escape in one of the little boats White left and perished at sea while perhaps attempting to reach their original home or seek out a new one. Although more excavations are scheduled for the area in late 2018 and 2019, it appears likely that the colony's secrets will likely remain a secret for some time. 2. Mary Celeste's crew. The Mary Celeste left New York Harbor on November 5, 1872, with a cargo of industrial alcohol and was headed for Genoa. The ship was discovered drifting 400 miles east of the Azores almost a month later. David Morehouse, the captain of the ship that first spotted her, thought something odd about the way she was sailing and sent his chief mate and a small party to investigate. On board the Mary Celeste, they found a puzzling scene, a ship with its sails fully extended, but no one on board. A 6-month supply of food and water was still among the supplies, and there were no indications of a struggle. The 1701 barrels of alcohol appeared to be almost completely undamaged. However, the lifeboat was absent, along with many navigational aids, as well as the majority of the ship's paperwork. 2 open hatches and 3 feet of water were also discovered by the boarding party, but otherwise, the ship appeared to be seaworthy. 10 days had passed since the captain's log had been last updated. The Mary Celeste was brought to Gibraltar by Morehouse's chief mate, and Morehouse later asserted ownership of the ship's salvage rights. Perhaps he had killed them in exchange for the salvage rights? However, a British Vice Admiralty court found no proof of wrongdoing. Morehouse did, however, receive a relatively meager salvage award, perhaps as a result of ongoing questions regarding his involvement. Since the lifeboat appeared to have been purposefully detached rather than torn off in a wave, many investigators believe the crew deliberately abandoned the ship. Some speculate that some of the industrial alcohol, 9 barrels were later discovered to be empty on the ship, had leaked, and the crew's fear of an explosion was caused by the ensuing fumes. They may have departed in the lifeboat with the intention of observing the ship from a safe distance until the fumes subsided, but they may have perished in a wave, storm, or other disaster. Other explanations for the crew's disappearance have included mutiny, piracy, ghosts, and giant squid. More recent rumors have focused on a broken ship pump. Whatever the actual facts, the mystery has persisted in enthralling audiences thanks to numerous retellings and embellishments in both literature and film. 3. Benjamin Bathurst. Benjamin Bathurst, the British ambassador to Vienna, mysteriously disappeared in 1809. Well, almost, on November 25, after being called back to London, he checked into the White Swan Inn in the Prussian town of Perlberg, ate dinner, and then went to bed. Around 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, he let his bodyguards go, and a short while later he went to check on his coach, which would take him home at 9 o'clock. However, when his staff checked on him at 9 o'clock, he was nowhere to be found. Given that the Napoleonic Wars were at their height and that Bathurst believed French agents were after him, it is understandable that tensions at the time were high. Additionally, he appears to have thought Napoleon was out to get him. History says a diplomat at the time shouldn't have been overly concerned for his life, but there are signs that the 25-year-old Bathurst wasn't in the best of mental health and may have been making things up or at least exaggerating them. However, a woman who saw Bathurst drinking tea on the day of his disappearance claimed he appeared so tense he couldn't do so without spilling. A few weeks later, 2 elderly women discovered a pair of Bathurst's trousers with bullet holes but no blood, as well as a letter to his wife in which he expressed concern that he might never see England again. Bathurst also attributed the Comte d'Entraigues, a French nobleman who later revealed himself to be a double agent working for Napoleon, as the cause of his predicament. The French, however, steadfastly maintained that Bathurst had committed suicide and vehemently denied any attempt on his life. Napoleon even told Bathurst's wife he had nothing to do with the situation and gave her permission to travel to the Rhine region. Her 4-month search for an explanation for her husband's disappearance in 1810 came up empty. Others have proposed that Bathurst was killed by his valet or another individual who may have been after his cash or the diplomatic documents he was carrying. When Bathurst's sister saw the skull, she said it didn't resemble him at all. In 1852, a skeleton of a person who appeared to have been killed with a heavy blow to the back of the head was discovered in the cellar of a home where a man who had worked at the White Swan Inn had lived. 4. BIERCE, AMBROSE. The biting author known by the pen name BIERCE, who is best known for his book The Devil's Dictionary, began to express his discontent with life by the time he was 70. Sleepy for death, he wrote in a letter to one friend, "And my work is finished, and so am I," in a letter to another. Additionally, Pancho Villa and others were fighting the federal government in Mexico at the time, and BIERCE expressed interest in this revolution to friends. He said BIERCE, in one of his final letters to a family member, "It outshines getting older, getting sick, or becoming a cellar star. Euthanasia is being a gringo in Mexico, I tell you." In his last known letter, written on December 26, 1913, to his secretary, BIERCE said he was with Villa and that they were leaving the next morning for Ojinaga. BIERCE seems to have crossed into Mexico over the border at El Paso, and journalists who spoke to him in Mexico reported that he said he was going to sign up with Villa's army. BIERCE is rumored to have died, possibly, at several other points during the Mexican Revolution. The torturous tales surrounding his death could be part of one of his own short stories. However, there are reports that an old gringo was killed at Ojinaga. Others think BIERCE never visited Mexico at all but went to the Grand Canyon, where he sealed his own fate at the business end of a German revolver. 5. Percy Harrison Fawcett. Percy Harrison Fawcett, a soldier, explorer, and mystic who some claim served as an inspiration for Indiana Jones, vanished in the Amazon jungle in 1925 while looking for a long-lost city he simply called Z. Fawcett disappeared together with his son Jack and Raleigh Rimmel. They set out from the town of Cuyaba at the base of the Mato Grosso Plateau in the direction of the north after preliminary investigations revealed some telling finds, though Fawcett was cagey about what those were exactly. About 400 miles along, the explorer reported seeing what he believed to be the remains of an ancient civilization whose remains were buried in the jungle. Over the years, more than a dozen expeditions have looked for Fawcett, but none have been able to determine what happened to him. One Swiss man named Stefan Radin reported coming across an old white man who was thought to be Fawcett. Radin went out again with a couple of reporters, and they were never heard from again. 6. Lord Lucan. After a largely wasted youth, he married Veronica Duncan, the daughter of an army officer, but after their divorce in 1973, he turned to heavy drinking and started a contentious custody battle over their 3 children. John Bingham, the 7th Earl of Lucan, was known for his taste for luxury, gambling, fast cars, and right-wing politics, as well as for his dashing mustache. When police arrived at Veronica's house on November 7, 1974, they discovered her nanny had been killed with a piece of lead pipe, and the kids were huddled upstairs, sobbing. Veronica claimed that Lucan had come to the house, killed the nanny, and then turned to her, but that she had managed to escape. The police issued an arrest warrant for him, and police from all over the world joined the search, but Lucan was nowhere. However, before leaving town, he stopped at a friend's house, where he told a confusing story. He had just happened to pass Veronica's house, see her being attacked, let himself in with his key, but then slipped in a pool of blood before the attacker and his wife ran away. Some believe Lord Lucan killed the nanny believing she was his wife, then killed himself when he realized his error. His disappearance has occupied hundreds of tabloid column inches in Britain, but there is no proof of what happened to him. In 1974, the Australian police believed they had located Lord Lucan. However, their man turned out to be John Stonehouse, a former British government minister who faked his own suicide in Miami. Really. Since then, Lucan has been spotted hiking. In this fascinating exploration of the realm into the world of unsolved disappearances, we can be assured of one thing: the mystery surrounding these cases will continue to captivate us for years to come. Investigators have been baffled by the strangeness of each of these 6 mysterious disappearances, and while numerous ideas have been proposed, the truth remains hidden. However, we must not overlook the important lessons we can learn from such mysterious occurrences. If you found this video entertaining and informative, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We value your patronage and hope to continue providing you with engaging content in the future. Until then, keep your eyes peeled and your minds curious.